From the Detroit Free Press, it's Thursday, October 8th. Here are today's top stories, presented by Bush's Fresh Food Market. Bush's has over 4,000 Michigan products, including the freshest fruit and vegetables, meat, seafood, and baked goods. Stop by one of Bush's 16 locations for the personal service you expect from your neighborhood grocer.
This is Todd Spangler, Washington correspondent for the Detroit Free Press. The two vice presidential nominees, U.S. Senator Kamala Harris and sitting Vice President Mike Pence, met for their first and only debate Wednesday night. The two traded barbs over health care and the response to COVID-19. But in all, it was a more civil affair than last week's shouting match between President Trump and the Democratic nominee, former Vice President Joe Biden. Pence tried to score points by saying Biden and Harris would raise taxes and ruin the economy just as it's recovering. He also tried to press Harris on whether she and Biden would try to add justices, or pack, the Supreme Court if conservative nominee Amy Coney Barrett is seated before the next president takes office. Harris didn't answer, but neither did Pence answer how he and Trump will protect coverage for people with pre-existing health conditions amid a pandemic when they are asking the Supreme Court to throw out the law mandating that coverage. It was a historic night, given that Harris is the first black woman and the first Indian American woman to be nominated vice president for a major party. But Pence still insisted on interrupting her and going over his time limit for answers on several occasions. Harris, on the other hand, seemed focused on maintaining her calm while pressing the case against Trump, knowing that she and Biden are ahead in the polls, at least for now.
The coronavirus pandemic has touched so many communities across the state. We've heard about the healthcare workers and frontline employees who put their lives on the line. But what about the community that shapes our culture, the artists?
Well, what does art making mean, and does it have a purpose?
On the latest episode of We Lived It, master of improvisation Billy Mark talks about what it was like for him to create work under the stay-at-home order.
There is something that we are all going through right now, and I'm being asked to respond to that. Well, let me control my artistic process and produce something that is good. Tension is, when worked the right way, it's creative.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And check out Freep.com to learn more about the We Lived It series.
I'm Frank Witzel with the Detroit Free Press. As Michiganders head up north to see the vibrant color changes, October also marks the 40th anniversary of the motion picture Somewhere in Time, which, for movie buffs, is among a smattering of flicks that were filmed on Mackinac Island. The film is an American romantic fantasy drama about a Chicago playwright obsessed with a vintage portrait of an actress hanging in the Grand Hotel. Through hypnosis, he travels back in time to meet her. If you want to know more, you can Google clips on YouTube or rent the movie through Amazon Prime. The film has an unlikely plot, but it's become a cult favorite. The 1947 romantic musical, This Time for Keeps, also was partly filmed on the island. More recently, in 2007, Mr. Art Critic, a comedy, was filmed on the island. And then there's the 57-minute documentary, Mackinac, Our Famous Island, that was commissioned by Detroit Public Television. It too takes viewers back in time to tell the history of the island, but no hypnotism was involved.
This is Evan Petzold of the Free Press Sports Department. The Mid-American Conference took a step forward in its return to play process Wednesday, releasing the shortened 6-game conference-only schedule for all 12 teams. The season begins November 4th and concludes with the MAC Championship game December 18th at Ford Field. All games within the first 3 weeks will be played on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and the final 3 games for each team will be on Saturdays. The general public cannot attend, and tailgating on university property is not allowed. Last season, CMU made it to the championship game at Ford Field, but lost 26-21 against Miami, Ohio.
For more stories from the Detroit Free Press, be sure to check out Freep.com. That's FREEP.com. If you're a fan and want to support our quality local journalism, subscribe. Go to Freep.com/special offer.